In today's episode, while the topic may seem highly abstract, rest assured that it will not be without its share of scientific inquiry. That said, I'd like to approach this film with a tone of contemplation, speculation, and an open-ended conversation. The idea for this topic came to me during one of my casual microscope observations, a moment of curiosity that I hope will spark the same in you, inviting you to share your thoughts on the matter. So, what exactly are we pondering today? Together, we'll delve into the nature of time. Does it truly exist? We are well aware of the profound influence time has on our macroscopic lives. But have we ever stopped to consider what time means to these microscopic organisms? What role, if any, does it play in their existence? With these questions in mind, let us embark on this journey of discovery. Let's begin. Time flows steadily, a constant we can observe in every moment. Even a child, in their own simple way, can affirm its existence. A glance at a clock, the rise and fall of the sun, the movement of objects, or the comings and goings of people, all of these are tangible reminders of time's presence. We can see that everything changes its position in both space and time. This connection between space and time forms the very foundation of Einstein's theory of relativity, where the two are intertwined into a seamless continuum, spacetime. In this framework, time isn't just a linear progression, but something that bends and stretches depending on the observer's motion and the presence of gravity. For us, it's a familiar rhythm of seconds, minutes, and hours. But for the microscopic world, what does this rhythm mean? Time seems to play such an important role in our world because it helps us organize our existence. In a way, it's a construct, a system we've defined based on the Earth's rotation and its orbit around the Sun. But these are merely units of time, conventions we've created. Any regularly repeating phenomenon could serve the same purpose as a marker of time, but how can we be certain that time itself truly exists? We are confident in the existence of space because we can see it. We know sound exists because we can hear it. But time, we know it passes. But how do we know? This is where my curiosity about this topic begins to unfold. We perceive the passage of time because we've been equipped with a kind of memory, a brain that records it. It's this ability to register and recall events that makes time so comprehensible to us. By remembering the past, experiencing the present, and anticipating the future, we form our understanding of time. But what if we can record events in our minds? Without memory, would we still recognize time as existing? Or would it become irrelevant, a concept without meaning or purpose in our lives? Could we live in a world where time is no longer necessary? Let's explore this idea further. When discussions arise about time, its properties and parameters, our gaze often turns upward to the vastness of the sky and the universe beyond. But today, I will look in the opposite direction into the microscopic world. Look at these organisms, darting energetically through their environment, searching for their place in the world. As we observe them, let us ask ourselves, does time exist for them? And here's where the question becomes even more intriguing. For us, time is so deeply tied to memory, to the record of events we carry in our brains. But these microorganisms have no brain, no memory as we understand it. Yet they respond to changes, adapt to their surroundings, and even seem to anticipate patterns in their environment. So, if they operate without a conscious understanding of time, could their existence suggest that time itself is a human-centric illusion, an interpretation of the universe shaped by the limitations of our perception? Perhaps the real question isn't whether time exists for these organisms, but whether they might experience something entirely different, something beyond our comprehension, a rhythm or flow that defies our concept of past, present, and future. Could it be that our view of time is as limited as their view of the world is to them? Let's explore this paradox further. So, some of you might say, all right, but first, they exist. Second, they appear. And third, they die. And if that's the case, then, like us, they are prisoners of passing time. But are they really? If they don't perceive time the way we do, can they even comprehend the concept of dying? And even if we accept that they die, it raises another question: which cell dies? These organisms reproduce by dividing, creating hundreds of clones. When one disappears, countless others remain, ready to divide again. On the other hand, I've just touched on something quite significant, something that strongly ties these organisms to time. We generally refer to it as the biological clock. One feature of these organisms that points to this connection is their reproduction. Despite lacking a brain or a nervous system, they somehow know when conditions are optimal for division. And this timing, this synchronization with their environment, is an inherent interaction with time itself. While the idea of time seems elusive and abstract, it manifests in the microscopic world through mechanisms that organisms have evolved to survive. Take, for instance, the concept of biological clocks. These intricate systems, though far removed from our understanding of time as seconds and minutes, are essential for regulating the behaviors of countless life forms. In microorganisms, biological rhythms dictate processes like reproduction, feeding, or movement. For example, cyanobacteria, one of the oldest forms of life, follow a primitive circadian rhythm. Despite having no brain or nervous system, they know when to photosynthesize during the day and when to conserve energy at night. This rhythm is encoded in their genes, guiding them through cycles of activity and rest. But here's where it becomes even more fascinating. These clocks aren't just passive timers, they respond to environmental cues like light, temperature, and even the presence of other organisms. It's as though time, for them, isn't something to perceive or measure, but a rhythm they must dance to for survival. So, could this biological clock be their version of time? And if so, how does it compare to our own? For us, time is a conscious experience, an awareness of moments slipping by. For them, it's simply an instinctual response to their surroundings, dictated by mechanisms we are only beginning to understand. Truthfully, this topic could undoubtedly spark hours of discussion. I'll end my thoughts here by encouraging you to share your own reflections on the matter. Perhaps the question posed at the beginning of this video was phrased incorrectly. Maybe it should have been. Should the concept of time for different creatures be regarded as the same and measured in the same way? Regardless, one thing I am certain of is that every time we ponder such philosophical topics, these tiny microorganisms continue their lives, unaware that someone is contemplating them in such terms. Once again, I encourage you to leave your comments and share your observations. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. In your free time, feel free to explore other videos as well, if, of course, time allows you to do so.